So would you be able to be in a polygamy relationship?
I, for the longest, had craved that.
I welcome you to a safe space and we can have a conversation that leads to healing. Welcome to Put It on Front Street. Welcome back to Put It on Front Street. I'm your host, Pierre Baines, and today's guest is the beautiful Cam, two moles and a mouth. And we're bringing back Dwayne, so we have a special treat. We will be talking about polygamy versus monogamy. Yes, a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and I am going to throw it to my beautiful guest today, Cam. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Cayman. He calls me Cam, so he's the only one that calls me that. But I am also the creator of Two Moles in a Mouth. I do enjoy dialogue and authentic conversation. So this is just really up my alley. And I've been looking forward to be a guest on the one and only Put It on Front Street. So this is truly an honor to be here.
Very humbled by that. But we will be getting into dating with a purpose. Is cheating a sport? And just diving into some conversations I feel like that we should be talking about when we're single, dating one or multiple people, and a little bit on marriage, and some open marriage kind of conversations. So I'm going to ask my buddy Dwayne, what do you think is about dating with a purpose? Like, what does that mean for you?
Oh. Dating with a purpose definitely is having the emotional intelligence to be intentional about the interactions you welcome in to your space. I think it's more so of you have to know yourself and be able to not lose yourself in that pursuit. So definitely it's a choice and a decision that you just kind of got to be mature enough to accept during that season.
Yeah, I feel that. One thing that I've learned when I was single was how to have dick discipline, which most people don't truly understand what that means, and I'll break it down for some out there. It's mostly like having, I would say, the courage and the discipline to know that you don't need to share your great, your good sex with any and everybody. Like, you need to know that everything that glitters is not gold, and vice versa. So, Cam, what would you think about, a man that has no dick discipline per se and is trying to, let's just say, pursue you? How do you go about that type of conversation?
I will say, being a woman, typically women are just used to always being viewed as sexual desire.
Yeah.
And that isn't something that's new to me. And for me, I realized as I've gotten older and matured that I always want a man who has discipline. And I would hear women say like, "Oh, all men cheat and stuff," but that's not my experience, And going a little bit further in regards to that, I feel as though if you accept a man who doesn't have discipline, then you're gonna probably get a husband that doesn't have discipline. You know what I'm saying? So those were things that I always paid attention. That played into why I also stayed single for a very, very long time, because I realized that looking back, the few relationships that I had, the ones that I got into a relationship with were the ones that it was like, hold on, we ain't gotta fuck right now. And I loved it. I just was like, oh, so wait a minute. So you don't want coochie right now? And not taking offense and assuming that it's gay.
Yeah. Because that was going to be the flip side. Most women be like, wait, I know I'm fine, kind of thing. So, like, why doesn't he want to have sex with me just yet? Or, because it's sad to say that some women don't value themselves and only think that that's their prize. That's all they have to offer. And getting to know you, just as the beautiful queen you are, you've always head held high, chest out, and knew your worth. And I know it takes time to understand that. But how do you feel like the younger generation, or, just any generation per se, is going about dating with some type of discipline or viewing it from that perspective?
Well, that's even something that I'm currently working on now.
Okay.
And I'm also currently working on now because I want a man with sexual discipline, but I also realized, I was like, wait a minute, because you always got to flip that on other, and I was like, do I have discipline? And then although I'm not one to like just sleep with any and everyone, but I also am very comfortable in my sexuality, sensuality, my sexual freedom and things like that. And so it got to a point where I was really enjoying my sexual liberation. And it kind of got out of control. So then I realized it's not just men that don't have sexual discipline, but women as well, because I was one of those women. And occasionally now I have to like hold that in because I'm so used to having access. When you're so used to getting access, when I can easily walk into a room and be able to, seduce a man to, and I think it goes back to my trauma, back from growing up of having that power taken away from me, that I stepped into my sexual liberation because I knew I wanted to have that power and me having that control. And then it kind of spiraled out of control of not having sexual discipline.
Yeah. And you spoke on like that trauma. That's something I talked about in the first episode. If you didn't watch it, you need to. Because, having that power taken away in some way turned me into a rebel, per se. Like, I knew I'm attractive. I knew I can get certain things from certain people. But I always knew that, like, okay, I want you, and you. And once I conquer you, and you, damn, okay, what's next? So it was just like a new challenge. Every person that I kind of slept with or dated or whatever, was a challenge. And then once you, beat that board, it's like, oh, damn, another board. And another and another. And then it's just like bodies on bodies on bodies. Which I'm like, there's no shame in it, but, there's shame put on it. So, Dwayne, my question to you, you being an attractive single man.
Thank you.
What would you say is your discipline if you have some?
Self-pride. Knowing your worth is half the battle.
Okay.
And like you were saying, what you were used to is something that's been matured into what it is now of that discipline. But when it hits you and it's new to you, you're excited and explorative. You want to seek out the next adventure, that challenge, right?
Yeah.
And being so dedicated to a certain persona for a long while, that was a discipline in itself. And when you're liberated from that, Lord.
Let the freak flag fly.
But going into what you said, though, because isn't the liberation also a part at times that it's nice to embrace?
Yeah.
That's...
And you gotta be able to look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And check yourself.
Yeah.
And if that's a discipline in itself.
Yeah. And acknowledging it. And because there's obviously, I feel like there's extremes to each,
The yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because experiencing people can be nice. It's just going to the extreme.
Okay.
And what is that?
I'm picking up from that extreme functional sex addict and non-functional sex addict.
Gosh.
I know.
So I used to always say this to myself. I'm like, you a functional sex addict. And I was just like, I took pride in it because it's like, I'm single, I'm liberated, I'm not hiding behind anything or anyone. So why can't I have this fun? Like, I'm being safe, like, I know the rules of the game, I'm as I learn, but I want to enjoy life. and life comes with a lot of different, options. So I would say, what's the biggest hurdle, because, we've spoken, and I think all of us have spoken on it. Do y'all think that y'all are functional sex addicts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me it's different as a woman.
Okay.
Because I like sex, but I like the art of seduction.
Ooh.
Because women,
Yeah.
are really alluring and
Yeah.
seductive, and when you're a woman who's comfortable in your sensuality, sexuality, you have that power and you own it.
Yeah.
It's fun to play with. When you find out you have a new, it's like
New little doll.
like a new power. Like,
Yeah.
Superman just found out, like, oh shit, I got powers now, and then
Yeah.
you just going crazy, and it's like, I found out, like, oh, my femininity, I can use this seductive nature to get what I want, or to manipulate, or whatever the case may be. That was something that I actually liked more than the sex. And I love sex, but the seduction for me, and I feel like a lot of women like the seduction, because you can control men a lot with seduction and sex.
Ladies, did y'all hear what Cam said?
Yes. And that's sad to say, because if men had more sexual discipline, and I shouldn't just say men, but from my experience,
Some
because I
people.
mess with men.
Some people. Yeah.
If they had more sexual discipline, then it wouldn't be easy to manipulate. You know what I mean?
That is true.
So when I realized that that was a soft spot and an easy target, for a lot of men, it's like, all I gotta do is seduce you.
It was like, yeah, you're the beautiful pussycat and you got catnip.
Yeah. I would sit there, walk past, and I would toot that butt up, and seduce.
Yeah.
In many different ways. Whether it's just me touching the back of the nape of the head, any little thing, or it's just looking into your eyes for long periods of time. That. It's just, and then it layers and it builds up till I know that you are aroused on there and like you really want to experience me.
Yeah.
So that part is something that I just would love. I know you looking at me like, is this what this bitch been doing?
like old girl Samore said on a Common View, and then you stop. And now the lights cut off.
Yep. Now you got them. You got them in the palm of your hand. So, what Cam said, what do you think?
I think that the same thing is true for men.
Really?
And I think that the stigma placed on men doesn't allow men to tap into that power.
Oh, that's very interesting. And
Totally.
I never thought of it that way either.
Totally. And I mean, I can't take her experience away as a woman because I don't know that experience or want to. I know my experience as a man, and I know some of the powers that I've have not tapped into that are now at my forefront of who I am is like, I don't know, it's like ecstasy. It's like when you realize that new power, you're like, ooh, I can do this. I can do this. And then I think that maturity allows you to take more control of it, which turns into a discipline. But life leads you to certain things that you want to not deal with. So you do more of this to not deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, how do you put this? Okay, in just say dating wise, right? We, say that we're dating to find our mate. That's how society, parents, or anyone says that, you're gonna date him because he has this, and this, and you're gonna date her because she looks like this, and this. I'm gonna throw it to you. What would you think is something that you've learned dating someone, not just hooking up?
So my dating is different. My dating is different, and I always take the opportunity to find out where someone's mind is, see what they think about, because I'm a consistent thinking person. I love learning. I love the opportunity to learn something and change, maybe something that was doing wrong and change it into whatever. But I just think that Go back to the question because I want to make sure I touch it.
You know, the difference between dating someone and hooking up.
So dating and hooking up, I mean, hooking up is transactional. Dating is intentional. You actively ask questions to learn more about that person.
Yeah, but I also, on the flip side, dating is transactional too, because
There's an
goal,
intended outcome.
Yeah, it's an intended outcome. It's a dating because, oh, I want to get this, this, and this, but I see maybe some potential. Hooking up, it's like surface level, but it's also intentional because I have to ask
Achieve something.
Yeah, I have to achieve something, but I also have to ask precise questions to see if we align.
So, and that was what I was going to touch on. Is like dating is more of a long-term intended outcome.
Okay.
Where that hooking up is more of that short-term, immediate fix, that social media swipe that I want this and feeling now.
Okay. That is very, very deep, and I like where you're going with that. We're going to take a quick break. I know it's really getting juicy, and we will be right back with Put It On Front Street. All right, guys, welcome back to Put It On Front Street. Once again, I have my beautiful guest, two moles and a mouth, Miss Cayman, and I have Dwayne joining. The topic is polygamy versus monogamy. And Cayman said that she wanted to chime in and ask Dwayne a question.
I did. I wanted to chime in only because I know that you had mentioned short term for hookups, but I'm just thinking of like my previous experiences. Like I feel like I've had long term hookups. You know, where they've never been to my home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like because I make rules.
Boundaries.
And boundaries.
Yeah.
That protects me because I know how I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kind of protects the other person because I know how I am.
Mm-hmm.
Where I would just meet to have sexual interactions, but I don't want to have outings. I don't want to spend the night. I don't want to cuddle. I don't want you kissing me in the mouth. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And I've had that with, the same person or the same individuals over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's a possibility of like long-term hookups? Is that even a thing?
Yeah,
totally.
It's really, well, go ahead. Because it's called FWB to me. But what do you think?
Oh, totally. Definitely. And it's what you both allow it to be and deal with the shortcomings that you've allowed to exist within those situations. But y'all go together. For real. And whether you want to call it
denial.
Whether you want to call it that or not, y'all go together and you have, as you engage in those relations, you build up that love for that person, whatever you want to disguise it as. You build that up. So as more as that happens, I mean, you have more expectations because you feel like you know that person a little bit more, and they should respect you a little bit more on that level as to the longevity of that hookup. But when you date, I think you give yourself wholeheartedly, allowing this person to learn more about you and being 100% reciprocal about that desire to know them as much. And that's more of the part of it where you want to take their front facing, they're the presenting person. But I've also seen that be contractual. Like you just here for this. And some people accept their place in that. And that extends to marriage. Whether that placeholder or, like they say for the gay people, the beard, right? That acceptance of whatever this person decides to do, I'm going to be here and represent what I'm supposed to represent for this person. And that's my dedication. And who cares what you question? I'm here.
That's deep.
Long-term hookups, even in a marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of people, gay, straight, whatever, that are in marriages that are the long-term game. It's like, when two families, have their children marry each other for a contract. They're benefiting. The families are benefiting. So it's just like, in this day and age, there are contractable marriages still. Like, she brings the trophy wife kind of look and the beauty and all of that, and he's basically the paycheck.
The hunter and the gatherer.
Basically, like that type of thing. So they definitely are, and that's where we kind of go into marriages that are open, versus, stalemates. Because, I've been married now 3 years, and it's a beautiful thing because we intentionally choose each other. And we constantly have conversations about our individual growth as well as our growth as a unit. And I always make this joke, and I always say this, some of my friends know it. I want our relationship to be like Wolverine's claws, impenetrable, like the strongest metal. Even if it's fictional. That's the kind of like relationship I want. Like I want you to be able to come to me and vice versa. No outside source should ever be able to tell you something about me that you don't already know. And that's something that we've continued to keep with each other. And it's helped us have a healthy bond that we can be transparent, we can be honest, we can be vulnerable with each other. But those things are very make or break for any relationship, I feel. Whether you're single and you're hooking up, dating with a purpose, or dating for sport, that leads to some type of commitment. And it doesn't always have to be marriage. But I just feel like this day and age, a lot of people are just in it for the fun. They're in it for a thrill, and then they're on to the next. Even in a marriage, I feel like people get married because that's the thing to do right now. And then, once the hardships come, they out. It's like, oh no, I didn't sign up for this. Like, marriage is supposed to be easy. No relationship is easy. Was it easy when you were dating? Or, you were boyfriend, girlfriends? No. So why would you think marriage is going to be any less, of a struggle or a challenge, And there's beautiful things to me in our marriage. Like, I can only speak for myself, that can cause, like, us to kind of like bump heads. And that's going to happen, but we work through them by like the pros and cons. Does this make sense for us? Does this, is this a long game thing? Or, like we have those type of conversations. You were married. What do you think could have been different, like communication wise?
The desire to communicate. You do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You go after what you want to go after. If you are committed to the relationship, then you know what makes it work. I mean, I didn't marry a person of low intelligence.
Yeah.
We know these things, and you feed into things that you want to grow. Yeah. So if you purposefully retract or live in a state of secrecy all the time, what are you hiding when our intention is to give ourselves to each other?
Yeah. Do you think that you guys could have been honest with each other and still kind of like work something out? Because, like each marriage is different. We see that in this day and age that we have men that, have a boyfriend. Or we see women that have a girlfriend, or, another.
And they're married.
Yeah, or they're married, and then they have a boyfriend on the side. So do you think personally, like, I don't know your,
situation.
Your situation.
No. I think the agreement is to raise our son and to be his best positive influences, juxtaposed to what we were exposed to, as with our parents. Not saying that bad in any kind of way.
Yeah.
We only know what we are around or what we're born into, and we made active decisions regardless of whatever we have in our relationship. We're gonna be his parents, and I respect her for that and the agreement that we have made. We recently just had a conversation about some business we need to take care of, and I was like, "Look, girl, I love you, despite our recent disagreement." It's not about that. How can I help you? How can I help overcome or be a part of this? And I want you to know, first and foremost, thank you for being an amazing mother to my son. And I think that there, and having regardless of me being hurt by her recently, I'm still able to look beyond that and be like, what can I do to help? So that's the agreement. We're still working through all of the other things, but the priority is to raise him in a healthy environment. and it didn't have to look like what we were a part of.
Yeah.
Until we realized that that may or may not have been dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And were we trying to continue that?
Exactly.
So, no, I just, as a marriage, I think we could have worked through a lot of things. It's just all based off of circumstance and where you are at that time. I wanted to say this earlier. Everything is based off such a time as this. In this very moment, where you are and where your mind allows you to go, but you decide that because of it right now. And if you can't have a outward perspective to think beyond that, that's what we were talking about, the goal setting, like how you go beyond that. Like, you stuck in that one place and you expecting everything to stay the same and not giving that person room to grow, which may not look like what it is in that moment. When I first met you, I said, oh my, that's my dream, right? Like, that's the fantasy, and that's what you are hoping to stay consistent. But you got to have the balls to be like, look, we got to take this ride together. And that's a choice too.
Yeah. What do you think, Cam?
Well, I've never been married.
Do you want to get married is the question.
I do.
Okay.
She want a long-term hookup. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't you be...
And don't kiss me in my mouth.
Don't kiss me in my mouth. And I was like, how masculine. You've given femininity and you've given masculinity. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I understand that I harness both.
yes, you do.
We all do.
Yeah.
Whether you're sexual, regardless
gender.
of your gender, your and your sexual preference, we all have both energies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just be clear on that.
Yeah, and my masculine energy and femininity, like it flows depending on the person.
She said, don't kiss me in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, because at the end of the day, like, I was really good at having that disconnect and keeping things within certain borders.
Yeah.
The lover in me, once those floodgates is open, it's open.
man.
And that's why I say I have to have, I know me.
Yeah.
And I had to have those guidelines to protect myself.
Yeah.
But also, were you doing to save space for others that you felt that same way about?
Let me think. Was I doing that to save space for others?
That you may have had a similar type of situationship without classifying it. Like, were you intentionally trying to save space for this person that you feel this kind of way about, but you allow them to do certain things that they do because you know they won't do what you need them to?
I will say, looking back, I not really, only because when I wanted someone, I wanted that person.
Yeah.
Like, there was no in between. I'm very hot and cold. Like, this past couple years is me learning how to operate in the gray.
Yeah.
Because I've always been so good at operating in black and white.
Yeah.
And realizing that life is a lot of gray.
Fluidity.
Yes.
Spectrums.
Yes. Yes. And that's something I grew into and I learned and matured into. So it was easy for me to keep doing that. Like, keeping the, because whenever it was rare that I came across people that satisfied the substance that I was looking for.
Yeah. It was always probably the great sex, and maybe some other qualities, but you're not giving me the meat and potatoes.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. And any person that I felt that from, I got them.
But
I was in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
But was that standard or expectation?
Both, I think. Can it be both?
It can be.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. I felt like it was both. I had a certain standard that I held for myself. And there was also expectations. But also having those expectations, I inevitably was always let down because having and hurt, because no matter what, human nature, they're gonna let you down.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty of being a flawed human, flawed individual. We all, at some sort, come with some type of baggage. It just depends on if you want to deal with, the multiple suitcases or just the duffel bag and a carry-on. Everyone has something that they have to deal with or get through. I don't know anyone that is like, I've cleared all my baggage. I'm here. Where's my mate? Like, no. Like, you're going to have to work through some things in a relationship to figure out if this is your person, or, maybe just a good long-term hookup.
We were talking earlier, and I was just showing her some ways I communicate with people now based off of life circumstances at this moment. And she was just like, you have zero tolerance for it. And any problems that you have, you bring it up to forefront because, being married for so long, I did not allow myself to indulge in the peripheral, what was happening around me. And then when that was not the situation, I jumped head first.
Yeah.
So now I see all of these things going on, and now my eyes are open, to, whoa, this person ain't that what you see.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of made it okay. But maturity and what you want in the now predicates your decision making.
Yeah. So would you be able to be in a polygamy relationship?
I, for the longest, had craved that. Don't spit your drink out.
I was about to. Good cow.
Okay.
But I would say for me being a woman, it looks different for me because it's not many men that would be open to sharing me.
Yeah.
And so
Come on now.
When you have a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain energy, you can light someone up and your power.
They don't want to share that.
Want to share that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
not think anybody would want to share that.
Not many people want to share that. And from my experience, I can only speak of because I engage with men, that men are territorial. And I had this feeling in me that I wanted more than one person. But I didn't share it early on because I knew the men would, and it would be not okay with it.
Okay.
And then when I started to express, because I started more and more not giving a fuck. I was like, listen, I gotta say this,
Give up.
And I would bring it up like, hey, how do you feel? Because you hear men say, oh, I would love to have more than one woman, you know. And then me being a dominant woman, coming to that man honestly and authentically and saying, how do you feel? Yeah, and respectfully, and saying, how do you feel about, being in an open relationship? And the first thing they think about is, oh, it's more than one woman. And I'm like, no. How do you feel with me, being with more than one man? And that is when the lights, they're like, ooh.
Has it always been a negative response?
It's always been a negative response.
Never a positive?
Always, never a positive. I would say I haven't had that many serious relationships, but each serious relationship that I had, when I brought that up, immediately it's a no. And so when I heard it, it's like, okay, well, I have to either accept it,
or move on.
Yeah, or move on. And because I love that person or whoever, because when I'm in a relationship, I'm just so immersed. I am tunnel vision. Ain't no nigga like my nigga, okay? So when they say no, I was like, okay. It's a no. Yeah, I either have to accept it or I have to let it go. And because I love them, it's like, this is just, I'll have to sacrifice that. But I just still had that feeling.
That desire.
That desire, and fast forward when that relationship ended and I got to a place and it was a painful relationship. And it's usually the ones that hurts the hardest that make you do the most work, And I said, fuck it. I'm single right now. I had the time to explore, take advantage of that. And so... the look on your face.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to your other question when I was saying, are you saving space for others?
Yeah.
And not willingly understanding that about yourself.
Well, we're going to put a pin in it. We're going to take a quick break. I know it's getting extra juicy. We will be right back. We'll put it on Front Street with my beautiful guest, Cayman, 2 Moles, and I'm out, and your boy, Dwayne. All right, guys, welcome back to Put It On Front Street. I'm your host, Pierre Baines, and I am still talking about polygamy versus monogamy with my 2 great guests, Dwayne and Cam, 2 Moles, and a Mouth. So we're going to pick it up at what point, Dwayne?
So I was trying to basically classify the polygamy and monogamy situation and really truly define what that is. Being married at one point, of experiencing the true feeling of monogamy and being interested in one person, and transitioning to being separated and working towards divorce and being just in multiple interactions. I wouldn't say relationships, that, have more of a bound or parameter to them where they're part of it. And I asked those questions to you as your relationships, in that space of being okay with what you are asking the man for, right? You're asking him to be okay with multiple relationships that you're dealing with simultaneously. How do you feel juxtaposed if it was vice versa?
So I did ask myself that question because I have to always make sure that I flip and if I'm able to reciprocate. And it was a selfish feeling that came over me.
Okay.
That was like, I could do it, but you sure the fuck can't.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really, but the logic of me was like, how dare I say that, and so I had to work through those feelings. And so when that relationship ended, that's when I chose to like really explore through the discomfort of getting to know people while they were openly getting to know others and telling me about it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my way of like tiptoeing into that realm and that world.
Yeah. But I feel like that's actually what dating is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're dating, meaning that's multiple. It doesn't mean I'm going on a date. Dating, to me, in my opinion, is I'm getting to know him, or her, or him and her kind of thing. Several different people, and it doesn't mean that I'm having sex with every single one of them. And if I do, that's my business.
But to add element to what you just said, and you kind of segued it into as you are looking for these agreeances, right? What if that was of an opposite gender? And I know that's not what we're talking about, but that kind of runs into the fold several times where someone is upfront with you and honest and saying, hey, here's what it is. And they have to deal with the response of the other person that may not be at that point.
That's a question that I feel like I've had with other women where we've had behind closed doors, like, are we okay with him fucking other niggas? You know what I mean? Like, these are questions that we've had. Yeah. And even for me, I'm flat out, like, I ask questions. If I feel like there is maybe a certain wavelength of feminine energy, I ask, because nowadays you never know.
Yeah. But why you downplaying the feminine when you embody the masculine?
No, I
in a man. No, and that's the question and the reluctance, right? Like, are we okay with him being with another nigga?
Yeah.
When what I'm saying is where that's kind of a question, more like a wait, is that okay?
Bless you.
When you all embody the masculine trait yourself and have those same tendencies within your specific gender, where it is a selfish thing to. For men growing up, they can say, I kissed a girl and I liked it. It's okay, and it's okay for society to see two women kissing, but don't come on TV doing that other shit, So why do we look down on one and not?
I completely agree, that there is a complete double standard, what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like how I feel like people look at men a certain way if they're against a woman being interested in other women. Like, dude, why would you be upset with your woman being interested in other women? Like, he has the right to have his preference.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But me personally, that is something that I had to ask myself.
Yeah.
Because especially when you feel a certain energy, and like we were saying about masculine, everyone having masculine and feminine energy and how it can flow, and it differs depending on who you're engaging with.
Exactly.
So I just now got to a place where I am having that conversation a little bit more, because I also know that I have masculine energy and dominant energy, but it, like I said, it varies depending on the person. But that two-way street, I know logically it is unfair. It is definitely unfair.
So you haven't reached that, I would say, that growth maturity to be
Acceptance.
okay. No, I don't want to say acceptance, but I would just say be okay with it, because like, we're family, like, and regardless of my sexual preference, like you love me for me. But it's different when you're dating or, being intimate with whomever you choose, and whether you are a heterosexual woman or a bisexual woman, whatever, some women don't want their man to be messing around with another man.
I will say for me as a woman, the thought that comes in my head, and I'm not saying I'm 100% against it. I'm just like, I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I haven't met a bisexual man yet that has grabbed my attention to the place where I could forget that, because he truly loves and wants me.
Yeah.
I think the issue for me that was going through that might have went through my head is like, well, are you truly attracted to me, or do you really want me? And because of that thought is what would make me be like, I'm not sure if I can fulfill, you in a way that you would want to stay with me long term.
But that's where polygamy comes in, because you have the propensity to do it for both, right? And that saying, okay, this is what we have, and that allowance for them to give some energy to another person, whether the gender, right? And that is however many you have within the agreement, and I just think that the gender part of it plays more weight on the, hey, it's just somebody else, right? Rather than being of the same sex or opposite sex. Because I've seen, and you asked me earlier in the conversation, like, could y'all have worked through it? And you do whatever you want to make something work. And if you love that person and you see them and you see the flaws and all, you're willing to have that journey together.
Yeah. And I think that, like, that's beautiful, because we've talked a little bit about, polygamy and monogamy and, open relationships and things of that. But I know for everyone it differs. Some are, the tortoise in the story, and they're not the rabbit. So I just feel like, in every relationship, it's going to go off of like your mental, I would say, development and where you are in that moment, because who I was 2 years ago is not who I am today. And every relationship is always going to go through ups and downs. But if you truly find someone that gets you, sees you, and understands your flaws and looks past that, I think any relationship can be healthy. Whether you're in an open relationship or open marriage, putting labels and titles on it. If you're transparent and you're vulnerable from jump, then that person can never hold anything against you. And they can't say that, oh, well, you didn't show me the real you. No, I did. I presented it. You were okay with it. Maybe at some point you might have changed, and that's okay. But give me, the respect to tell me, hey, I'm not with this anymore. And then work through it, or we part ways. But that's how I feel most relationships should be. And I've done the work in my own marriage to get to that point that we can actually just have conversations. They're not cringy. They're not uncomfortable. We're just being authentically ourselves,
But going in, I just want to touch one thing in regards to...
Touch more than one thing.
I'm always touching. Into something that you said that kind of hit me when I elaborated on a man. How can I articulate this? I want to touch on the fact that I hear men saying they want to be needed.
Yeah.
Me personally, as a woman, and I don't know if a lot of other women feel this way, I don't want to be needed, because I don't want to feel like someone's a mama. I want to be wanted.
Desire.
I want to be desired.
Yeah.
And I think that is maybe goes into why I have this thought, like, it's always this one side. That's why I said it's black and white instead of the gray that we all need to work on.
I
love
what you said. I'm learning to live in the gray.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, have these upbringings of the 2-parent household or the single-parent household, whether it's
This
your
or that.
situation, single father, single mother, but you're raising, coexisting, those type of relationships, they all play a part in how we view relationships. We can all agree to that. You know, whether they're healthy or not, we learn from them. And then we use those tools to navigate how we
view the world
and how we view relationships. But on an end note, I would say, what's one takeaway that you both have gotten from this conversation? And I'll start with the beautiful Cam.
I honestly, this conversation is allowing me to dive deeper into realizing that I would like conversations with my partner on what they fulfill and what I fulfill to them. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to for me. If maybe that's why I maybe wasn't as open to being with bisexual men, is because I feel I had that feeling of like, well, maybe you don't desire me. I'm not fulfilling certain things. And so that goes into, well, what do I fulfill?
Yeah.
Why are you with me?
That's
what do I fulfill?
Very, like,
I think those conversations
that's
what's
because being
important.
desired is something totally different from a need.
A need,
you know,
yes.
And that is so like aha moment, because you literally said, well, if you're dealing with both sexes, what am I missing? You know, and of course, you know, anatomy, we all know, but it's like, what am I missing that you desire the opposite sex versus the same sex, and, you know, and vice versa? What do you think, Dwayne?
I think love is the ability or the desire to want to know and learn more about something. And that's what drives you wanting to do your part. I desire to see you happy, so I'm willing to conform or to be transparent and explore with you on whatever endeavor that is. And having that freedom and feeling like you have the support of your partner in order to have that conversation without judgment, without berating or making someone feel smaller about it, because that's not what society puts in front of us. It's freeing, it's liberating, it's something that I look for. And, you know, as a single person being married for so long, it's just kind of like, okay, well, I can't look for what I had in a marriage and a relationship or a hookup, if you would. I just want, or I desire to make this person happy at this particular point in time. So my opinion on it is just basically, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay. I like that. I like both points. So you heard from some people on how they view certain relationships and how they want to be desired, how they will cross that bridge when it comes, and how, you know, transparency in my relationship has furthered our, you know, growth and development as a marriage couple. So I commend anyone that is being desired and letting you know what you truly want out of a relationship. You know, whether it's the hookup, whether it's dating with a purpose, or, you know, having multiple partners. Like, just be, you know, authentic. Like, show up and let them see you for who you are. And when you do that, I feel like you can make your point.
I just want to ask you a question and be
What?
authentic is like allowing yourself to look into those areas that you may not have.
Yeah, I agree. Like, that helped me, you know, kind of like do some soul searching, because I feel like, you know, when you're with someone else, you don't want to lose yourself, of course, especially in a marriage. But I have been always an advocate for just telling that person what I truly want. And then, you know, that want turns into a need. Because, you know, a lot of times we say we need something and we truly didn't need it. We wanted it. So, like, having a threesome or having an open relationship or whatever, that's not a need. That's a want.
Or like you know, I like the show says, you put it out on Front Street.
Yeah, you put it out on Front Street and you let people know how you really want to live your authentic life. So thank you guys for joining us for another amazing episode. I want to thank my wonderful guests, Cam and Dwayne, for just putting it out there, being their authentic selves. And I'm your host, Pierre Baines, and this is a wrap for Put It on Front Street. See you next time. Peace.